Hello, everyone, and welcome to Signs Your Payroll Provider is Holding You Back and What You Can Do About It. This webcast is brought to you by CPA Practice Advisor Magazine and IRIS. I'm Gail Perry, Editor-in-Chief of CPA Practice Advisor, and I am your moderator today. Before we get started, I'd like to explain how CPE for this webcast works. The webcast qualifies for 1 credit of continuing professional education. If you plan to earn CPE for attending this session, you must stay with us for at least 50 minutes. In addition, we will display 4 polling questions during the webcast. You'll need to record an answer for at least 3 of those questions, as this is our verification that you are still watching. You will receive an email by the end of the day today that contains a link to your CPE certificate, assuming you met the requirements for CPE. Please note that we can give CPE credit for multiple people watching on the same computer. So if there are others in your office who would like to attend this event, please have them join you now. And at the end of the event, we'll provide an opportunity for you to send us their email addresses for their CPE credit. At any time, you can enter questions in the Ask a Question box provided on your screen, and our speakers will try to get to as many questions as possible during the presentation. Questions not answered during the broadcast will be addressed by the speakers afterwards via email. Regarding the slides for this webcast, they are not available for download on your screen, but today or tomorrow, you'll be getting an email which includes a link to the archived version of the webcast and will also include a link to the slides. Today, we're joined by Tyler DeRosa, Director of Sales at IRIS Software, Matt Contardi, President at Sharp Payroll Services, and Laura Hanlon, a Conway, Arkansas CPA. And now we are ready to begin.
All right, so I believe we're on the slide that we should be at this point, but first and foremost, hi everybody, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Really appreciate everyone's attendance, especially 2 of our really most valued customers, Matt Contardi of Sharp Payroll Service and Laura Hanlon of Laura J. Hanlon CPA PLLC. Excited to kind of go over today what we believe is going to be a lot of insightful information regarding thoughts, concerns that you may have as a payroll provider in some capacity, whether you're running payroll in-house or you're outsourcing it to a managed service provider. So I think what Matt and Laura are going to be able to share today with everybody here is going to prove to be very fruitful and insightful. It'll be a great use of your time, and we'll, of course, be very respectful of everybody's busy calendar and busy days, so we'll try to be as crisp as possible. But at this time, I do want to give Matt and Laura an opportunity to introduce themselves. They can tell their story better than anybody, of course, better than me as well. So, Laura, I'll hand it over to you to give a brief background on yourself to start off.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Laura Hanlon. I'm a CPA in Conway, Arkansas, which is just north of Little Rock, if you're familiar with our little state over here. I've been in practice as a CPA in my firm for 20 years, and prior to that, spent 5 years with Deloitte in their tax department.
All right. I guess I'll just jump in. I'm Matt. I'm the president of Sharp Payroll Service. We are a full-service accounting firm. We started out as an outsourced bookkeeping service 15 years ago, and about 10 years ago, decided to shift the focus of our business to payroll.
Awesome.
We're located in Point Pleasant, New Jersey, here on the Jersey Shore as well. So I don't have as charming of an accent as Laura. I got one of these northeastern New Jersey accents.
I'll try to curb my Northeast accent as well because I'm from New York, so we all know what that accent can sound like. But all right, well, Laura, Matt, thank you both so much. Excited to hear more from you. I won't steal any more thunder, so we'll get on to it. If we can move to the next slide. Thank you, Michelle. So everybody, just to give a quick overview on the agenda of today, I think that's important for you to understand what, of course, we're going to be exposing you to, where we're going to be enlightening you on. Really to take a look at Laura and Matt's side of the business. We want to talk about the impact of, respectively, payroll technology, the impact of a managed service provider for payroll purposes, choosing the right payroll technology and service provider, lessons learned along the way. We know that we're only going to learn from failures and experiences, so there is nobody better to listen to than Matt and Laura when it comes to lessons learned in payroll. And then the solutions implemented by, of course, Sharp Payroll and Laura J. Hanlon, CPA, from a technology and managed service standpoint. Both very different. Both are serving a very unique purpose for profitability and efficiency. So we'll continue to dive into that. And Michelle, we can move to the next slide. All right. And again, I don't want to steal anyone's thunder. Laura can speak her story better than I can, but to high level, her CPA practice and in regards to payroll, what that looks like, Laura did start by actually offering payroll services a while back. So from the beginning was offering payroll services. We know that that comes with a lot of decisions, a lot of burdens that can come with the payroll compliance process. And then, of course, taking a more calculated decision to change the way they were offering payroll to a managed service option versus an in-house option. And we're going to dive into her story a little bit further, but we can go to the next slide and talk about Matt's. And for Sharp Payroll Services. So like Matt mentioned, actually started off as more of a full service bookkeeping and tax offering, but with payroll, of course, to process from the start. The initial technology platform that they were on, what the scalability and the growth has looked like from a payroll compliance standpoint, and what that magnitude looks like now. So I think it's important to know that both of them have a dynamic story. There has been a massive change in one of their offerings for payroll, and one of them wasn't even fully focused on payroll to start. And then, of course, we're here today talking about payroll solutions and how to offer them to the best of your firms, to meet them, to offer them to the best of your firm's ability. Next slide, Michelle, please. All right, the impact of a payroll solution on your business, whether that's technology or managed service, the impact cascades into other areas of the organization. So that's really what we want to hone in on today. Depending on your business's desires, what you want to do long-term, whether you want to focus on accounting and tax, or you want to focus on payroll and HR, the impact, whatever the solution you decide to go with, it's technology or it's managed service, has a tremendous impact on your business. And I think most of you, I don't have to explain this, but payroll is a very sticky service. So you have clients that latch on to you, and that also transpires into tax, bookkeeping, accounting, HR outsourcing. So the payroll solution you decide to implement and the payroll model that you decide to go with long-term has a very lasting impact on your business, and excited to kind of show you firsthand today how that worked for two of our customers. Next slide, please. All right, the impact of payroll technology. I'm going to start with a couple of questions here. And these are for Matt, of course, as one of our Iris Software Group payroll technology users. Really, Matt, what I'm interested in understanding, I know you've been with us for a while. I know we've gotten to really know each other well, and we have a great relationship. I know all the great things Iris Payroll has been able to do for you, but what I'm interested in, and what I think a lot of the audience is interested in as well that may not be using Iris Payroll, is how did the initial run with your first platform for payroll go? What did work? What didn't work?
So when we initially decided to make the push into the payroll space, we were using the same software we were using for bookkeeping, which was QuickBooks. And so it was mostly QuickBooks desktop version. It was really clunky and difficult to navigate. You couldn't go between clients. You had to completely open the new company file and then process payroll in that company file. We weren't able to give our clients access to, enter the hours or process the payroll themselves through there. And so it was very labor intensive. And so for the first 2 years that we were, selling payroll, we went from maybe 30 clients to 100 clients in payroll, but we had to scale up and hire 2 full-time employees to handle those 100 payroll clients. And so at that point, we realized that we weren't going to be able to scale up and make payroll profitable using QuickBooks as our software. And so that's when we started the process of looking elsewhere for programs and companies that we could work with. And we found Iris, and Tyler, who's the person who ended up, being the one that sold us on switching over to Iris about 8 years ago. Since we switched to Iris, obviously, how in depth do you want me to go on the software side with Iris?
Oh no, that was perfect, Matt. And we'll of course get into in a little bit for both technology and managed service what the impact of the Iris payroll platform has had in a little bit. But you nailed it, and you actually made me think of another question for you, because you referred to labor-intensive processes. We all understand that that's common in payroll, and if you're using the wrong vehicle and solution, payroll could be really burdensome and really intensive. You mentioned something about clients kind of being able to be a little bit more involved and have access. So did you find that when you made a switch from a platform that wasn't giving you the ability to have clients kind of work real time with you, when you made the switch off of that, were you able to cut down on labor intensive work at Sharp Payroll?
I mean, it made a night and day difference. We went from being really stretched thin, when we made the switch to Iris, to within a month, we were way overstaffed. And it took us probably a couple of years to, bring on enough clients to really fill out the workload for the employees that we had. We didn't end up cutting back or letting anyone go. We held on to our employees, and we just sort of, let them stick with us. But yeah, that was a huge difference in scalability. And obviously one of our biggest expenses is labor. And so having the right software can make all the difference in how much you can scale your business and how profitable that business can be.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I kind of like to use the analogy with customers still to this day. You may be you could be a carpenter, you could be a mason or a builder of some sort, and you could have the worst tools in the world, and it could make you hate the job and hate the work you do every day, putting on siding, putting on windows, installing a deck. But you may actually love it if you had more updated tools, right? If you had cordless, if you had pneumatic tools, or just something that's more modern and cutting edge, you could find that you actually really enjoy it. You're breezing through it. You're able to scale because of that, grow your builder's business, your construction organization. Same concept with payroll. If you're using a bike that's got a rusted chain, you're going to hate riding the bike if that's how you have to deliver papers or whatever you're doing. So I think you hit on a really important part, that when using the right solution, what you're offering at service for a service should be profitable and at the same time enjoyable, right? We all want to do what we love, right? Then the next question, I think we talked about challenges that you had with your current system and what the impact of using that software on your operations is really important to me. Did you guys make a decision to switch because you said, hey, look, if we're looking to get into payroll and we have maybe 50 to 100 clients right now, if we don't make a switch, we're going to actually lose our payroll business? Was that something that you thought about?
I think maybe it wasn't about losing the payroll business. It was more about not being able to grow or meet the demand, because we saw an opportunity in the space, obviously selling against companies like ADP and Paychex. Anybody who's in accounting knows people's pain points with those companies. They're large companies. Each one of them has over 1 million clients. And so they're just a number, calling a 1-800 number, cycling through customer service reps. And so we saw an opportunity, but we couldn't take advantage of the opportunity because the software we had did not have the functionality we needed to compete on a level playing field with ADP and Paychex. So we could beat them on the service side of the business. We knew payroll better than them and better than their payroll specialist. But we weren't able to offer all the same bells and whistles and functionality with software that they were. And so we realized pretty early on that if we were going to really, make this profitable and scale up without having to, really scale up and have a huge expense for labor, compete from a cost standpoint, and offer all the same functionality as Paychex and ADP, we were going to have to find new software. And so that's when we started the process of looking for companies. And it wasn't just we sat with Tyler and Iris and we went with our first option. We sat with dozens of software companies and did dozens of demos before we made our final choice.
Wow. Yeah. You kind of illustrated that you can run a business and you can offer any service, but that doesn't mean it's going to be scalable and sustainable. In this world, in payroll and HR and human capital management, you need to adopt software as a service. So the software is obviously working for you in a way, and your service is not as intensive and as just consuming to your staff that you would offer to your client when you're using a modern SaaS platform, software as a service. So those are great points. Matt, thank you. And Laura, excited to hear from you in the next slide. So we'll go over some impacts of managed service. And, Laura, we know that we mentioned earlier, you switched from running payroll in-house. And this is, obviously due to the fact you're a CPA, you're a tax professional. Tax and accounting is typically a CPA's main focus. But can't forget about payroll, of course, because we can either outsource to a back office operation or we could run it in-house. Either way, payroll should always be with an accountant to some extent, because your payroll clients are probably tax, bookkeeping, and audit clients as well. So, Laura, what were some of the challenges and the impact in your business when you were running payroll in-house on a platform at scale, of course, to clients?
Yes, yeah, certainly. I set out as opening my CPA firm, not with the intention of running payroll. I had come from a large environment and had a very technical tax background, and that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I enjoyed. But I found out very quickly that clients often came to you and they want you to do your taxes, but they also needed help with payroll. Or sometimes they come to you first for payroll and then you get the tax and accounting work at the back end. So I started out just satisfying those requests and doing much like what Matt just described, using QuickBooks Desktop. And I would say once we started growing a little bit there, then I implemented payroll for processing, both after the fact payroll reporting and live processing of payroll, using my software vendor for my tax and accounting products. They had an option in there, and so we did it in-house. Of course, I had to train some employees, and they were employees that split time between payroll and accounting. So not really a dedicated operation, but certainly an important one, and one that requires a lot more attention to time every week than maybe accounting service would be. So it grew, and from there, we looked at other options, and I still continued to work in-house, processing the payroll, and we had good systems in place, but there were certainly some holes in them. For instance, we used software to calculate and process payroll, but then we used a separate banking ACH option to where we had to manually enter information or maybe upload information, and there was some manipulation of that. So there were some steps where they were prone to potential error by humans, and that made me very nervous as the business owner, and required, sometimes I had to step in and deal with urgent problems, and that's a little stressful when, my main bread and butter is the tax compliant tax planning side. So at that point, my client base had kind of naturally grown to a point where I needed to make a decision. I have to commit to this, or I have to outsource to an ADP Paychex, because as Matt mentioned, you hear from their reps all the time. So at that point, I had met a group at a conference, and I decided to buy into a brand new payroll franchise, and spent 5 years in that franchise. And so that did help me. Fortunately, they were using the same software that I was already using, so that was attractive. But they did ACH batch processing and some other batch type processing that improved our efficiency and made it more profitable for me. So I continued with that for the 5-year agreement I had signed on for. But by that time, the payroll base had grown probably 3 to 4 times of what it was when I entered that franchise. I had a dedicated salesperson, had a payroll manager who'd been with me for probably 5, 6, 7 years by that point. And it was very much on autopilot, not a whole lot I had to get involved in, except maybe managing some of the sales process or just the overall business process. So things were going really well at that point. And I decided, okay, I'm not going to continue with the franchise, but we've got this down. I'm good with it. And I'm good with just, some controlled growth instead of the expansive growth that I had originally had. So by this time we get to late 2019, my payroll manager had started a family, and she and her husband had decided that it would be best for them if she had a job that maybe wasn't so stressful and time constraints. It's really hard for her to go on vacation, take off with young children, whatever. So that was a good parting of the ways in that I felt, I was happy for the decision they made. But as a business owner, it was very hard to consider replacing that payroll manager. And again, I said this was at the end of 2019, and we all know what happened at the beginning of 2020, right? COVID. So that sent things a little into panic mode, obviously, with everyone, clients, just the industry in general. But trying to recruit and find a manager to hire quickly during that time, and then wearing my CPA hat for the tax compliance side, it just was too much for me to try to manage all of that in a pretty chaotic time. So amazingly, we survived through 2020 without hiring another manager. Both one of my tax managers and I stepped in to basically man the role of the payroll manager. And that was an extremely stressful time of my life. So as I'm in the throes of that, I said, no, I will not continue this. And that's how I ended up developing a relationship with Iris. And we made a game plan to transition all of my clients over to them, because I did not want to have as heavy of a burden on me. Also, the staffing change, even though it was a planned one, it just showed me how difficult that can be and how important it is to have a seamless transition for payroll. So one of the biggest benefits for me in the managed services relationship with Iris is that there's a dedicated team to my clients and to me, but I am not responsible for hiring and training and managing those employees anymore. And it allows me to continue to focus on the primary things that I do in my career, which is my tax planning and compliance business.
Wow, Laura,
Does that give you a good background, Tyler?
Oh, that was more than informative, and
Okay.
and just there was a ton of nuggets in there that I actually really took out from there too. A couple things I'm sure you agree with this. You know better than me. When you're a CPA, I feel like you're a CPA firm. You kind of want to not be a jack or Jill of all trades, because it's like if you're going to be a payroll service bureau, you're really going to run payroll and do some ancillary HR services as well. But your core bread and butter is payroll. When you're an accounting and CPA firm, typically your mastery is tax and accounting. So I think there's something to be said about that you did so well with payroll, but it wasn't sustainable, because as a CPA, you said, I really got to focus on tax and accounting, because that's where our expertise is. That's where our calling is. You mentioned something that begged the question, and it makes me think. I almost feel like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, but with whether it's payroll or tax, I feel as though employees they're more important in a way when you're running a payroll service.
Yes, in my experience, that is true. With accounting and with tax, you have due dates. It's important to provide the service for your client, but you really don't get much of a pause button if you have some turnover with an employee or whatever might happen with personnel. Or you do get that. I'm sorry, I think I misspoke. Payroll, you do not. It has to keep running. Yeah.
I mean, look, you can't miss a pay date. You can't miss a tax payment. You can't miss a filing, or else people get in trouble, and you don't want any of that. And you mentioned that you had staff that was kind of double covering each other, picking up each other's slack with payroll. And I was wondering, when that was happening, did you feel like, because you were having, you were growing payroll, and it was a great problem to have, right? So I don't want to make this out to be that there was something going wrong in the firm, but did you at some point almost fear, and this is something I do hear a lot in the market, did you have fear or concern that maybe you would have turnover employees and you would lose talent because of the stressful environment and the inability to kind of grow with the payroll demands?
Yes, absolutely. I had, specific employees who said, we don't want to jump on the payroll bus. at all.
Mm.
And I think the other main fear that was the driver of the outsourcing relationship was you mess up a client's payroll, they don't forget that, and then the accounting and tax work goes away as well.
Yeah, that's that's where the back office, the payroll back office, really rings true and comes in handy. Is you're allowed to maintain a payroll business presence, payroll practice presence with your client. It's being handled and administered entirely by a managed service provider, and you make them very happy for tax and accounting and any bookkeeping engagements if you're doing that as well. So, great.
Correct.
Awesome. All right, going to hand it back over to our MC to go over the first poll.
Okay, everybody, this is the first polling question for today's webinar, and it is, what is your biggest payroll concern or problem? And I'll read you the possible answers here, but I also want to mention that if you have any trouble posting your answer online, you can always post your answer in the Ask a Question box, and we'll pick it up there and record it. So your biggest payroll concern or problem, your answer options are workload. Processing payroll is taking too much staff time. Second option is compliance, keeping up with federal, state laws and regulations. Third option is taxes, correctly calculating taxes, filing taxes, dealing with the IRS, etc. And fourth option is security, ensuring client employee data is secure and preventing payroll fraud. So please pick the answer that is most closely aligned to your own biggest concerns with regard to payroll. And we will show you the results in just a moment. Okay, so it looks like our results are about finished here.
All right, back over to me. Thank you so much. Choosing the right payroll partner for your business. Ultimately, what you've been hearing from Laura and Matt is not only does the right model for your company work, whether you're a CPA firm wanting to focus on tax and accounting, or you're a payroll service bureau, or an aspiring payroll service pro, and you just want to grow in payroll and HR. What even is more important than that, the model and the dream, of course, is great. It's chase the dream and then the money comes, of course. We all know that saying. But you can't really act on anything until you have developed a relationship and built a long-term partnership with the correct payroll provider. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of great ones. There are some that are a little behind times. There are some that don't have good reputations, but that's what makes this all more difficult, of course, in choosing the right payroll partner for your business. So we're going to tap into that a little bit more. Michelle, if you can tap to the next slide. And just some more questions. Laura, we're going to start off with you. Selecting the right payroll managed service provider, obviously as a CPA firm that looked to partner with an outsourcing payroll back office. What did you, when you said, okay, had enough, my employees are off the payroll train, I'm 1 foot in, 1 foot out, it's time to make the decision. What were you looking for? What was one of the most important factors in your managed service selection?
Well, as I just kind of alluded to, I was looking for that back office support of the employees where I didn't have to run the risk of turnover. I didn't have to manage training, hiring, maintaining that, or just even if I had a good team, worry about it. So finding a payroll service partner, that's their responsibility, not mine. So that gave me a lot of peace of mind. Also, I wanted to retain a little bit of control and to have the relationship still for my clients still be with me and the payroll partner rather than just a handoff to, well, now we're going to outsource to these people. You work with them, I'll get some reports, and there wasn't a connectivity. between the three of us. So that's why Iris was very attractive to me. I had a long-standing relationship with the software company prior to Iris purchasing them, and it all transitioned over well. So that was, to me, just a huge peace of mind.
Awesome. I appreciate that color. You actually were able to bang out 2 questions in one answer. So kudos
Trying to make
you.
up from the last answer.
Oh, you're good. You're good. But you know what? I don't even think you meant to do that. I think it just flowed right into the next question, which is, why did you choose to partner with Iris for managed payroll services? But you explained that very succinctly, and I think the audience would probably resonate with what made you select a particular partner and for payroll based on what you were looking for. Because I think payroll is a customer support oriented business. It can be a feature function driven business as well if you're on the tech side. But ultimately, I think payroll, what I've learned in my time in payroll, it comes down to who's most trustworthy and who's most reliable. It doesn't have to be the prettiest software. It doesn't have to have the best user interface. Doesn't have to have the most bells and whistles. I think what matters the most is your partner, which is the organization you're going to work with. You can rely on and you can trust. So,
Agreed, absolutely.
Yeah, it's so important. Payroll and compliance, we all know there's very little margin for error, little room for error. So what are the impacts been on your CPA firm past couple of years since you have actually made the switch to Iris? I know that we're excited to hear about how the tax and accounting practice blew up, but tell me anything else outside of that.
Well, I would say that it's just become a very more of a byproduct of my firm, the way it began. But obviously with a much higher revenue component to it, we're able to service clients. We have a good system in place. Somebody wants payroll, I know, hey, I'm going to reach out to my person at Iris. We're going to get this onboarded. I know the process for that. They have a great onboarding team. Once the onboarding is complete, we go over to our dedicated payroll specialists that we have a weekly, if not sometimes daily working relationship with. But Iris really does the back end, behind the scenes part of the work. And I chose to have my clients also be connected to those payroll specialists. I wanted to be transparent about who's processing the payroll and that we're all partners in this. Mm-hmm. So many of my clients will work directly with the specialists. They'll include me if needed. Some of them do, some of them don't. But it's a very hands-off experience for me at this point. I'm mostly involved if there's onboarding or when a client is closing and we're terminating their account, but still that's minimal involvement of my time. So I have a great peace of mind that payroll is taken care of. I have control if I need to. For instance, an S corporation owner needs to make a salary adjustment mid-year because for whatever reasons that my tax planning is for them. But otherwise, clients are able to submit their payroll on their own if they want. They can send it to the specialist to do. It really is just a very seamless and beneficial, valuable relationship to both me, my firm, and my clients.
Just works for you, Laura, right? That's what I hear.
It does. And one other thing, I guess, is I don't have to maintain the staff that I had. Yeah. So I had 4 dedicated employees at my highest point when we were processing on our own, and I don't now. So it's certainly dropped my overhead as well.
In a way, you hire this back office Iris managed payroll managed service. You hire them almost, and
right,
it's the same thing as hiring an employee, but it's hiring an organization that is focused solely on payroll solution for your particular need. So
absolutely.
All right, Michelle, can we tap over to the next slide, please? We're gonna talk to Matt again. Selecting the right payroll tech partner. I think payroll tech is a little more prevalent in terms of the payroll and human capital management industry, with options that there are out there for accounting firms, CPAs, enrolled agents, PSBs. But not all are made equally. There are a lot of really good ones, but I think it's important to understand, Matt, in your situation many years ago, 8+ years ago, what were you looking for in a software because of, the aspirations you had to say, I'm all in on payroll. I want to grow it. I want to scale it. It's profitable. What were you looking for in a software?
I think number one was functionality, ease of use. We wanted something that was intuitive, that wouldn't be difficult, A, for us to learn, but B, for us to teach to our clients. Our vision and our business plan was really to be like more of a middleman providing customer support and have the software be the star of the show. And so once we teach a client how to enter payroll, really for us, it's just a matter of overseeing it, putting a set of eyes on the payroll before we press a button and send it on its way. And so it's really allowed us, like I said, previously, to really scale up and to become very profitable. I mean, the number two thing that we were looking for, other than functionality, obviously, because we needed to be able to compete with ADP and Paychex. The number two thing was price. I was looking for software that gave me that functionality, but wasn't looking to become my full business partner. And so a lot of these software options that I found were attractive. They had some nice features, and it was impressive when we did the demo. But then it would come down to the price, and they were basically looking for half my business. And so one of the things that was nice with Iris was the software was incredible. I wasn't forfeiting anything or giving up anything that the other companies were offering, but I was still able to, purchase the software at a reasonable price and then compete with ADP and Paychex and even come in lower than them and still remain profitable.
There are a lot of really good payroll softwares out there. And I think that, of course, at the end of the day, when we need a solution to any pain or challenge, you got to pay up for it. Whether you go to a doctor and you have to get a surgery, that's really important. You got to pay for it. But there are some things that you just can't afford, and for good reason. And while some softwares can be so cutting edge and just so state of the art, if you're looking because of, your model, which was to grow payroll, you can't give away. So you can't give away half your practice. You can't give away half your profits. So it is important to have that wholesale model too with pricing. Again, there are a lot of great softwares. Not all are created equally. Not all are built for payroll practitioners to scale a payroll business. Some you can have some clients on there, but after like 10, 15, it's like, if I take on another client, I'm going to lose money on payroll, right? So yeah, you don't want that. And that's an incredible point.
Well, the other thing too is Iris has levels available and other features that you can add and pay more for. So, if I'm going to the car dealership and I want a Honda, I only need a Honda for 90% of my clients because it's blue collar, it's contractors, it's painters. It's not people that need, a PEO or some of these other features. These other software companies are only selling Cadillacs. And so, sometimes I want a Cadillac, but a lot of times for the clients that I have, our business model is more fit for just processing payroll, paying the taxes, and then offering some of the ancillary services in the back end. And so we've been able to kind of, I think Iris, honestly, we got really lucky. It's the perfect fit for our firm and for what we offer.
That's being configurable, right? So like you mentioned, Honda, Cadillac, by the way, I'll take a Honda every day. They last longer than any car out there. So I'm a Honda guy, tried and true, thick and through. But really, to your point, being configurable by default, it's going to be a pretty sturdy and reliable and durable system. But being able to say, hey, I need these components only. I don't need that. This is what I'm doing. This is, this version allows me to do that. Great. But hey, maybe I have to, unleash this or tap this lever because it's going to give me an ancillary module. And I do need that because I have demand for it. Having a tech platform that allows you to configure it that way is also invaluable when you're looking to grow, which kind of ties into the next question. I feel like I don't have to ask you, and I feel like most of the audience probably knows about how this impacted your payroll business, but why don't you give everyone a little bit of an idea on what this did cascade into for your payroll business, making the decision to use Iris technology?
So as I said, when we made the switch to Iris, we had reached almost 100 clients. And so this was a little less than 8 years ago. We're coming up on 8 years in January of 2025. So 7.5 years. Today, we have 650 payroll clients, over 700 total clients. So we're 7x essentially as far as number of clients. We're 10x on revenue. And honestly, the growth in the payroll business has been able to help us to scale up and grow the accounting and bookkeeping business as well, because the payroll has been the foot in the door. As Laura kind of touched on, so many accountants either don't want to touch payroll, or they do the payroll and they do it poorly and they screw it up. And so we end up getting them as a payroll client. And then a few months later, they're like, hey, you guys do other services, don't you do accounting? I'm not happy with my accountant. And then before you know it, we have them for everything. And so it's really helped us to not only cross-sell and grow all of our businesses, but make all of our clients stickier. I mean, our retention rate is ridiculous. I can count on one hand how many clients I lose in a year that don't leave because they went out of business, or they closed up their company. So it's been a huge growth sector of growth for our business. So for example, when we made the switch to Iris, payroll was about 20% of our gross revenue. Today it's 70% for our company.
I think either direction you go with whatever solution for payroll, it's a sticky service. Whether you're going to, go Laura's route and say, hey, I need to dedicate this to a back office that's going to do better than me, or you want to use the best technology for your needs and you want to scale it. It's just a sticky service no matter what, because even offering bookkeeping and some accounting services, Matt, you're able to mention to them, hey, I do bookkeeping and accounting, or hey, I do payroll. And once you get people in on payroll, once you make them happy with payroll, they don't want to leave your company in any way, whether it's they do you do their tax, accounting, audit. When you make them happy with payroll, I think that is that's hard to kind of top,
Yeah, we have, and if you look online, we have hundreds of 5-star Google reviews, and it's all about what we did, what our software does, what we're able to offer to our clients, how we help their business compared to ADP and Paychex. And so a lot of that, a big reason for that is because of the software that we chose and what we use. And so just to speak from a labor standpoint, I told you I had to have 2 full-time employees for less than 100 clients. Right now, as I said, our business model is to be overstaffed, because it's from a service standpoint, you want to make sure if someone goes on vacation, payroll doesn't have a pause button, like Laura said. So you have to be able to, to have the staff on hand to process payroll. It has to get done by deadlines, and those deadlines are not just weekly but daily. And so, we right now, for the 650 payroll clients we have 4 full-time staff members, and our payroll expense is less than 20% of our revenue in the payroll company. Our software is less than 10%. I don't want to give away pricing on you. I know we get pricing based on scale, obviously, but it's really nice to have a partner that works with you and allows you to remain really profitable and to scale up your business. And it's become a huge, as I spoke to in the last answer, revenue stream for our company. It's our main sector for growth. This is the tent pole for my business, is my payroll company.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And so, Michelle, you can tap to the next slide, but I want to mention something before we go over the poll. Is Matt touched on something that was really, really important for everyone to kind of understand. I don't think anyone can really fathom being able to do 650 plus payroll clients with 4 full-time payroll employees. That's just that's some serious magnitude right there. Typically, if you have over 500 clients, you probably have a staff of like 10 payroll dedicated professionals. But that could tell you something, to Matt's,
and we're overstaffed.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find stuff for them to do on Thursdays and Fridays when the payroll processing is.
It's a good problem to have. That's a case study. All right, poll number 2.
Okay, everyone, this is our second poll. And the question is, what is your biggest challenge with your current payroll process or solution? And the options are: first, our payroll workload is taking too much staff time. Second, a lack of required features or functionality. Third, insufficient customer support. Fourth, too expensive. or fifth option, all of the above, or last option is something else, other. So please pick the answer that seems most appropriate to you. And I think while we're waiting for those results to go in, if you guys want to move on, that would be okay.
Awesome. So what we're going to get into a little bit here is payroll best practices. Luckily, both Laura and Matt, and at one point Laura, both processed a lot of payroll. Matt's still processing a lot of payroll, but you still need to be very keen to payroll when you're doing the managed payroll service, in an outsourcing capacity to a back office. So it's going to be very insightful and important to understand their best practices from a lot of the lessons they've learned. So Laura, let me ask you, from the managed payroll service standpoint, what would be your best advice to another accounting firm that's doing managed service already, whether it's, I know all of them out there, I don't have to name them, and so does everyone else. What would be your advice to them if they're feeling that it's just not kind of meeting the bar anymore?
Yeah, my advice would be, don't assume that other providers or partners are the same as what you're currently dealing with. And definitely, while it may feel like you do not have time to allocate to reach out to someone and explore, what your options are, you're going to spend a lot more time continuing to deal with your provider that isn't meeting your needs. So delaying it is really going to compound the problems. And I know that sounds very common sense, but I know from experience, when you're in the middle of it, it feels too overwhelming and like you don't have time. But what I can say is that the changes that I made in my practice were so worth it, even if there was an investment of time. And of course, there was an investment of time. But Iris, they helped develop the game plan. I didn't have to do it myself. And that was huge for me. I mean, it was a roadmap, and they were there every step of the way. They had an entire team to help bring over my clients. We strategically decided which clients to move at what point in the process. I think it took us 4 or 5 months to onboard the entire client base. Training for my clients. So some things that, being kind of a typical CPA type personality, I thought I would have to do all the planning and figure it all out myself. No, Iris was a great partner in that. So have the conversation, at least get past that first roadblock.
That's really sound advice. I think we could all learn from that in any respect of life, to be honest, is just take the leap of faith, right? Or
Yes.
at least identify that it's an option. Matt, I'm going to pivot over to you and ask you the same question on just the technology side. What advice would you give an accounting or payroll firm that's maybe not feeling that their current payroll partner platform is doing right by them?
Well, I think it's something where you take a look at your business, where you want it to go. If you're really going to make a commitment to payroll as an accounting firm, you need to make sure you have the right software. If you don't, then you need to really, make sure that you're reaching out, doing demos, meeting with other software providers, and trying to find one that's the right fit for your business. Because once you do find the one that's the right fit, and I can say for us, it was 1000% Iris, it completely transformed our business. And so I think there's no pain in change. The pain is in the resistance to change. So once you find the right software provider, there's options available to get help with the implementation process and bringing people over. It only gets more difficult as you grow and get larger and there's more clients to move. So I would say, as you're getting ready to make that leap or make that commitment to payroll, or if you already have and you have the wrong service provider, I would make that change sooner rather than later. Don't delay.
Yeah, it's just, it's kind of like the old saying, strike while the iron is hot, right? There's no perfect time to make any decision. So I agree with you wholeheartedly there, Matt. Awesome. Can we tap over to the next slide, Michelle? All righty. So the payroll technology solution partner for Sharp Payroll, we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit further. So if we tap over, we'll get into kind of the nitty gritty and the technicalities of the payroll software that Matt Contardi of Sharp Payroll Service is using. And by the way, there is a QR barcode. Not sure if it's QR barcode. I know that there's so many different types of little applications to scan that with, but you can go ahead and actually scan that, and it should route you to some more information and anyone that expert that you want to talk to regarding the Iris Payroll software. But the platform that Matt is using, Iris Payroll, is I can speak a little bit to it here, in that Matt has been able to scale while being profitable for a lot of reasons. But one of the biggest reasons is it's not always about the price tag. That is super important. But what's more important is that Matt's organization now has so much more time. Like he said, he has 4 staff members, but he's still overstaffed. You get a lot of time back when a software solution for payroll is doing the heavy lifting for you. When I say heavy lifting, I'm talking about direct deposit, NACHA, ACH file creation, and transmittal process to pay employees under the hood built in there. Also handling all the tax deposit and filing obligations for federal, state, local, city, municipalities. Making sure that those are transmitted properly. You have your quarterly, your annual, end of the year reporting, state withholding and unemployment, local and city tax support for form generation and coupons. That's all really heavy lifting that you may have to do a little differently in more outdated softwares. And that could be the reason you're not able to scale. And that could be the reason you hate payroll. So to automate a lot of the heavy lifting, time consuming tasks, from calculations to scheduling to generation and then processing. Iris Payroll is a third-party transmitter built into the software. So that's where it truly gets that SaaS, software as a service component. It's not only software that you get to white label and call your own, it's got a service built into it so that it's going to be taking care of your tax compliance, your direct deposits, and a lot of communications too, of course, to keep you and your clients in the loop on things that should be reminded of, like payday reminders, tax due date reminders. But that's more than a 30-second elevator, so I apologize. But we can tap over to streamlined payroll processing, which is a huge function of the Iris Payroll platform. And what that really means is that you have batch capabilities for all your employers. So we're not just going to do one-by-one payroll unless there's a reason to. You could actually gang up all your clients. You have dashboards that allow you to just one fell swoop process payroll for a few hundred clients, get the EFT approvals for direct deposits, tax deposits scheduled, and right then and there, you just ran through approvals for a couple hundred clients. And I think that, Matt can correct me if I'm wrong, that's how it works for you to actually do more with less. You can run 400, 500, 600 payroll clients with just a handful of staff members when you're able to streamline the entire payroll process from time entry to calculation to approvals.
Yeah, so I think obviously the fact that the software is so intuitive and easy to train clients on, the majority of my clients that are even somewhat tech savvy or even know a little bit or even have the ability to access a computer are able to enter payroll themselves, which A, eliminates mistakes, and B, eliminates time wasted on the phone or manually entering payroll that clients send over themselves. So I mean that's a huge component. Obviously from a tax compliance standpoint in the back end with all the tax filings, tax payments, batch processing, we don't even have to worry about that. That's all taken care of directly by Iris and our software. And so for all of our clients, I have one employee in tax compliance, and they're not even in it full time. They're going between tax compliance and then payroll processing to manage any things that come across our way, tax notices that get sent to clients. But everything is done for us by Iris and by the software. And it's, like I said, it's been a game changer for us and a lifesaver. We use it for everything. So our real only responsibility is to manage the front end with the clients, make sure the payroll is getting submitted properly, and kind of manage and oversee the back end and the compliance part of the business. Iris takes care of the rest with the software.
And you still own 650 payroll clients, which is the beautiful thing about it.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like I could do an infomercial for Iris. So I'm a big fan, and I'm not just saying it. Like I literally give my time graciously. When Tyler has a client that wants to talk to somebody who uses the software, I'm always happy to hop on a call and talk to somebody because, they've been a really great partner And I know that I owe a lot of the growth and success of my business to Choose Iris.
Well, just like a lot of other customers, Matt, kind of owe the the ability of the software to continue enhance and evolve to you guys as well. That's important to remember too. That's what makes a partnership. That's why there's a lot of softwares, there's a lot of partners out there, but not all are created equally. It's advantageous, it's synergistic when we can help you grow, and then it actually allows us to grow as an organization too. But what's most important for us is to continue to invest and make the software better. It's a cascading type of effect, right? Now, this is a technology slide, but it goes for both ways, whether managed service or payroll software and technology. Customer support is one of the most, if not important things in a payroll software, payroll engagement and relationship, because payroll is a customer support and service-oriented business. Things are going to go wrong. Payroll is the furthest thing from perfect, but we got to make sure that we file and process and approve things the right way. That's why US-based customer support is unparalleled and bar none the most invaluable asset when you're talking to a payroll partner. And Laura really touched on this a lot, whether you're an onboarding analyst, your processing specialist, your support and your resources with your partner are going to pretty much dictate your success, of course, and the ability on a tech side to streamline and automate things. But it's going to be a lot of times where you need to talk to somebody that knows the software in and out. You will too, but it's inevitable that you will need to speak to customer support. So just want to focus on the fact that that's always going to remain onshore. Don't want that to change. So going to hop into the poll number 3 here.
Okay, poll number 3 is, what is your timeline for implementing a new payroll solution? And your options are 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, during 2025, or I'm not looking to change our payroll solution in the foreseeable future. So please pick the answer most appropriate to you. And let's see, it looks like we're having a little technical difficulty in sending that. There it goes. Okay. All right, and if you guys want to continue while we're waiting for those results to come in, we've got about 2 minutes left, and then I need a minute to wrap up with a hard stop at the top of the hour, and we'll have one more poll question in that period too.
All right, so while everyone's actually going through that poll number 3, want to hit a little bit more on the managed payroll services side with Laura so we can tap over the next slide. Again, nice QR barcode here for you to get more information. But really, and I can let Laura talk a little bit further as well because she's the expert here. But what's important to remember with managed payroll services is not the benefits and the rewards you get to reap from running payroll or having that managed solution partner, unlike, whereas Matt kind of gets to reap a lot more of the rewards. The benefit of managed payroll is what it opens you up for outside of payroll. Because remember, we make the decision as an accounting firm that wants to go the managed payroll service route. You make that decision because you want to explore and grow other areas of the accounting and tax practice. So that obviously is going to come with decreased labor-intensive workload, huge reduction in compliance, tax complexity burdens, and then just overall time spent from staff. And then what that means is, of course, we're going to result in allowing our accounting and tax practice to flourish. But what's most important about all this is we're not just getting rid of payroll and getting rid of the clients and saying, see you guys, I'm not... I wipe my hands clean of you. You actually get to make your payroll clients even happier because of what Laura mentioned earlier. Iris Managed Payroll Service wants to not only work directly with you to make sure your clients are okay, but we work with the clients to make sure that anything that they need ironing out gets resolved. And then the communication for education and training goes in all 3 directions. There's a 3-way party basically, with just constant payroll flow of resources and knowledge. And I don't know if Laura wanted to hit on anything else there, but we can tap over to this slide. Payroll. Okay. The payroll made simple, features and offerings that your business and clients need. So we look at payroll, it's evolving today. It's going from workforce management. It's becoming more human resource bells and whistles. journal entry integrations into tax and accounting, bookkeeping, general ledger systems, 24/7 access to web portals, making sure it's a cloud-based solution, on-demand customizable comprehensive reporting, time entry options, security for data security and privacy. Just going to make sure I am charged in here so my laptop does not crap out on me. And that actually really covers up a lot of the features and functionalities that allow you to get to the next level when discussing whether it's managed service or payroll technology partner. And we are at the last poll, number 4.
Thank you. I'm going to jump in here with the last poll question, and it is, are you interested in scheduling a demo or consultation to learn more about Iris Payroll? And your options are, I would like a demo of the Iris Payroll software solution. I would like an expert consultation about payroll managed services, or not at this time. And I want to take a moment to thank Laura, Tyler, and Matt for an outstanding presentation. We hope all of you enjoyed this webinar. We want to thank you all so much for attending today, and thank you to Iris for making this event possible and enabling us to offer a free CPE credit to each attendee. If there is anyone watching with you at the same desk who needs CPE credit, please send me their email address at gperry, G-P-E-R-R-Y, at cpapracticeadvisor.com. Or also, if you have any questions about CPE, you can reach me, gperry at cpapracticeadvisor.com. And for those of you, if you get an email saying that you didn't qualify for credit and you recorded your answers in the Q&A, we've got them there. I want to thank you all for sharing your time with us, and you'll be presented with a quick post-event evaluation on screen as soon as this ends. Please take a moment to answer the questions so that we can continue to improve our webinar programs. Thank you all very much. And our audio will end now.